Hi, Cleo here. I work in the Ruth G. Hardman Adult Literacy Service of the Tulsa City County Library. I'm also on the Green Team Committee, and today I'm showing you some books I've pulled together for Victory Garden Redo, Solace for Your Sanity, This Unprecedented Time, and possibly even the world. So, what is a victory garden? A previously unproductive land transformed into fruitful home or shared garden space due to the work of ordinary individuals. And here in Oklahoma, it's never a bad time to garden, but right now is an especially good time to plan on gardening. So we're going to start with Victory Gardens for Bees, a do-it-yourself guide to saving the bees by Lori Wiedenhammer. This is a National Outdoor Book Award winner for nature and the environment. Garden design plans inside, beautiful photography of flowers and different sorts of bees nestling in flowers. So a paraphrase from inside this book. Do they act as architecture, but lack food for bees? Are the plants purely ornamental like plastic pink flamingos, or do they offer bees the breakfast, lunch, and dinner they need? But more than garden plans, this has so much more about bees, and it's just a delightful book. So reading and bees, it's good stuff. The back of the book includes inspiring and useful websites, seed company listings, other publications to investigate, and an index. The Pollinator Victory Garden. Win the War on Pollinator Decline with Ecological Gardening by Kim Eierman. This book features not only bees, but also beetles, butterflies, bats, and other pollinators with gorgeous photos. One feature is a handy pollinator victory garden checklist that makes it easy to assess and implement your gardening dreams for pollinator success. We have Foodscape Revolution, finding a better way to make space for food and beauty in your garden. This book's written by Bree Arthur. So foodscaping, what is that? Foodscaping is the logical integration of edibles in a traditional ornamental landscape. To foodscape is to grow food alongside your flowers. When you think of vegetable gardening, do you tend to think of rows of plants in strict order with the use of pesticide and commercial fertilizer? This is a home gardener way to create a holistic garden that is beautiful, better for the environment, and edible. Arthur covers the anatomy and structure principles of a lovely landscape. I really like how she gives you suggestions for edible edges, edible ground covers, and edible, beautiful plant substitutions for the ornamentals with which most people are familiar. Basically, don't just plant a coleus, plant basil or maybe rainbow Swiss chard. And next we have, I've had this book checked out for a couple of weeks. Sorry, everybody. Here we have Mini Meadows. Grow a little patch of colorful flowers anywhere around your yard by Mike Lizotte. In your mind, what do you think of when you hear the word meadow? Is your meadow a wild, grassy expanse or a pocket of green somewhere? And I bet the flowers are blooming. Whatever you're thinking of, I'm sure it's pleasant and a beautiful place. This book will inspire you and help you plan a mini meadow in whatever space you have available. It has the best photography. It is also filled with practical solutions and ideas. Some examples include stabilizing plants for hillsides, very difficult, planting a boggy ground meadow, sidewalk, and even a window box meadow. Will have you mowing less, conserving water, while also supporting pollinators and birds. Also, it's just a really cheerful book. In the back of the book, it has a glossary, a list of resources, and an index. And if you're not familiar with an index, what that is where an alphabetical listing of topics or where plants have been mentioned so you can look something up and then go to that page pretty quickly. Here we have Gardening Your Front Yard, Projects and Ideas for Big and Small Spaces by Tara Nolan. Here you learn the basics of turning grass into a garden. Maybe add a seating area or build vertical privacy elements. It up front talks about the reality of doing this work. That being with planning, eco-friendly ideas for things like dealing with stormwater and sidewalk meridians, driveway gardens, and incorporating vegetables in the front yard and still have it look appealing. Gardening your front yard shows you how to, for example, set up a rain barrel and also put together a pollinator palace. For those of you who may be interested in your own garden carpentry projects, Gardening Your Front Yard has project plans. These include compost bin, hedge boxes, how to build a picket fence, and rolling planters. Those are just a few of the project plans in here. The back of the book includes gardening resources and an index. Okay. Next, Tomorrow's Garden, Design and Inspiration for a New Age of Sustainable Gardening by Stephen Warr. Artistic, delightful, and luscious. This is the closest thing to a coffee table book in this particular collection of books. It has an emphasis on an elevated aesthetic appeal, but still balanced with the concern and support of the environment. Here is where you will find the gardened outdoor living spaces. Also, chickens. Okay, now we have Oklahoma Native Plants, a guide to designing landscapes to attract birds and butterflies by Connie Scothorn with Brian Patrick. For the purposes of this book, native plant means a plant that occurs naturally in the United States and is adapted to the Oklahoma climate. Humans might be surprised at just how beautiful our native plants are. They're also adapted to our climate, which means they are tough survivors. So an Oklahoma-specific gardening book written by Oklahoma landscape architects who provide you with a conversational look on how to choose, plant, and care for the native forbs and grasses that pollinators and birds desperately need to survive. This book is arranged with plants listed alphabetically by scientific name, with interesting tidbits of information written in a conversational style that also includes where to use it, like a ground cover, in the border, or naturalizing, along with growing requirements and several photos of each plant. The back of the book includes an Oklahoma plant chart, native plant destinations in Oklahoma. For Tulsa area, it lists the Gathering Place, Woodward Park, and the Tulsa Botanic Garden. There is a glossary, resources, and indexes. Okay, now for something really important. Nature's Best Hope, a new approach to conservation that starts in your yard by Douglas Tallamy. If you find that you are interested in the environment and how you can do something for it, this book is a blueprint. This is where you learn about connected corridors. These corridors are living, biodiverse paths where wildlife and insects can live and safely move or migrate through the environment. Here, people are invited to take part of their plot of land or maybe a garden expansion, and in that space include native species that support the creatures that come with our land or need to cross it in order to get to their nesting ground. Take, for example, the monarch butterfly. Is it possible for there to be an iconic insect? If so, that would be the monarch, which it migrates to Mexico for the winter, and then it needs to forage its way back north. Nature's Best Hope expands on that idea to a broader creaturely realm. Another example is to have a few mower widths of well-manicured lawn to give neighbors and passersby the cue that your landscape is intentional, cared for, and not a product of neglect. Some of the plants mentioned here are already favorites for a variety of reasons. For example, the majestic white oak tree and also the elderberry shrub. In the intentional landscape or garden, Tallamy brings up the idea of keystone plants, those hyperproductive plants that support many kinds of insects and other invertebrate critters that in turn provide food for other creatures. The back of the book includes an FAQ section his source reference, and an alphabetical index. Oh, we talked about some books today. The next book talk will be March 18th with Jennifer Parrish of Hardesty Library, and she will be talking about Magic for Adults.